Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Master Duel Shining Sarcophagus deck profile. So I'm really excited to do something for you guys because this deck just got released in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel and it's an extremely nostalgic deck. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like in your name, description, a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Gandora G. Gandora G is an amazing 3F in the deck because this card is a board wipe. This card has the ability to gain 300 attack for each banished card, and if you control Shining Sarcophagus, you can special summon this card from your hand, which is an awesome effect to instantly get your boss monster on your side of the field. This card also has the effect that you can pay half your life points to destroy as many other cards on the field as possible, and if you do, banish them. Then special summon a level 7 or lower monster that mentions Shining Sarcophagus from your deck, and increase its level by the number of cards destroyed by this effect, which is an awesome ability to be able to use to instantly get your copy of Silent Magician 0 or Silent Swordsman 0 on your side of the field with this card's effect. We then play 2 copies of Dark Magician, the Magician of Black Magic. This card is an amazing 2-of in the build and just helps out so much in the deck, as this card's name becomes Dark Magician while on the field. Also, you can special summon this card from your hand if you have a copy of Shining Sarcophagus on your side of the field. This card also has an awesome effect. If this card is destroyed by a card effect and you have a level 5 or higher monster on the field, meaning your copy of Gandora G, you can actually special summon this card and then set a spell or trap from your deck that mentions the Dark Magician, which is an awesome ability to combine with your copy of Gandora G to basically instantly get your copy of either the Dark Magic Mirror Force or a copy of Secrets of Dark Magic on your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Gadget Trio. Gadget Trio is a 1-card combo for the deck because this card is basically the Stratos for the deck. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add a Shining Sarcophagus or a spell or trap card that mentions it from your deck to your hand, which is an awesome effect to instantly grab your copy of Shining Sarcophagus from your deck to your hand. We then play 2 copies of Silent Magician 0. Silent Magician 0 is definitely a 2-of in the build because this card is a walking spell negate. This card also has the ability, if your opponent draws a card, increase this card's level by the number drawn, which is a great effect because while this card's level is higher than its original level, it gains 500 attack points times the difference, which is a really cool ability just to get this card absolutely massive. Also, when your opponent activates a spell card or effect while you control a copy of Shining Sarcophagus, quick effect, you can negate the activation, and if you do, increase this card's level by 1. We then play a single copy of Silent Swordsman 0. Silent Swordsman 0 is a really good 1-of in the deck, but you only need a single copy of this card. This card is usually once per turn during the standby phase, increases this card's level by 1, and while this card has a level higher than its original level, it gains attack equal to the difference times 500, and also this card is targeting protection, which is a really cool effect. Then when your opponent activates a card effect that targets Shining Sarcophagus or a monster that mentions it, and you control this card, you can quick effect, negate the effect, and if you do, increase this card's level by 1. We then play a single copy of Archfiend's Advent. I really like playing Archfiend's Advent in this deck as a 1-of because this card is just really cool because it lets you take control of an opponent's monster, and it has the ability while you control Shining Sarcophagus, you can normal summon this card without tributing. And other monsters you control gain 500 attack during your turn only, and if this card is normal or special summon, you can target one monster that your opponent controls and take control of it until the end phase, which is a great effect to instantly grab one of your opponent's monsters. We then play a single copy of More Marshmallow. More Marshmallow is great in the deck as a 1-of, but you really only need a single copy of this card. This card has the ability, while you control Shining Sarcophagus, this card cannot be destroyed by battle, and also your opponent's monsters cannot target monsters for attacks except for this one, basically protecting every one of your monsters from battle, which is amazing. This card is really good as a 1-of in the build. We then play 3 copies of Max C. Maxi is insane in this deck because it is a Master Duel deck profile. You guys know we gotta play Maxi. Maxi is a broken hand trap that lets us draw a card every single time our opponent special summons, so this card is definitely a 3-of in the build. We can also play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is definitely a 3-of in the deck as well to basically just stop the opponent from touching the deck. We can also play 2 copies of Shifter. Shifter is really good in this deck as a 2-of because we can completely play around Shifter, which is insane. So this card is definitely a 2-of in the build. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get in to the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Pot of Prosperity. Pot of Prosperity is great in this build because you really don't use the extract all that much, so this card is great in the build to help us dig into the deck for the exact card we need. And lay a single copy of Secrets of Dark Magic. Secrets of Dark Magic is great in the deck to help us summon out a Dark Magician fusion monster because your copy of Dark Magician can actually set this card to your side of the field, which is a great effect. We can play a single copy of Crossout Designator. Crossout Designator is really cool to be able to play in the deck as a 1-of just to counter hand traps. We also play 2 copies of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is amazing in this build as a 2-of to basically just use this card just like your copy of Crossout Designator just to stop your opponent's hand traps. We then play 2 copies of Ties That Bind. Ties That Bind is definitely a 2-of in the build because this card helps you summon out more Shining Sarcophagus monsters. Because if you control Shining Sarcophagus and a monster that mentions it, you can special summon it to 2 level 4 or lower monsters with different names that mention Shining Sarcophagus from your hand and or deck. Also, for the rest of the turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon from the extract, which is a really cool ability to instantly get a copy of, say, Silent Magician 0 and Silent Swordsman 0 out to your side of the field, while you have your copy of Gadget Trio on the field, which is amazing. This card is definitely a 2-of in the build, and I really like playing 2 copies in the deck. You could probably play just 1, but I really like 2 in the build because it helps out a lot in the deck. We then play 2 copies of Turn Silence. Turn Silence is really good in this deck as a negate because you can actually target a face-up monster you control and increase its level by 3. Also, if you activate this card in response to your opponent's monster effect activation while you control Shining Sarcophagus and a monster that mentions it, negate that opponent's effect, which is such a cool ability to be able to use. We then play 3 copies of Future Silence. Future Silence is basically the Rhoda for this deck. This card is amazing in the build. It lets you add a monster that mentions Shining Sarcophagus from your deck to your hand. Then, if you activate this card during the battle phase, while you controlled Shining Sarcophagus and a monster that mentions it, each player draws until they have 6 cards in their hand. But usually with this card, you're just basically using it as a Rhoda for the deck. We're then playing 3 copies of Shining Sarcophagus. Shining Sarcophagus is what the entire deck revolves around. This card is so important for the build. It is absolutely amazing. It cannot be destroyed by monster effects, meaning when you activate your copy of Gandora, it doesn't destroy this card. This card also has the ability that during your main phase, you can actually add a card that mentions Shining Sarcophagus from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card. And if your opponent special summons a monster from the graveyard, except during the damage step, you can discard a spell and then target one of those monsters and send it back to the graveyard, which is an amazing ability. But this card is definitely a 3-of because the entire deck revolves around this card, and it's amazing that it's basically a Rhoda every single turn. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get in to the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start with a single copy of Dark Magician Mirror Force. Dark Magic Mirror Force is definitely a 1-of in the deck, and this card is so good in the build to be able to set to your side of the field with the Dark Magician in this deck. This card has the ability when your opponent's monster declares an attack or an opponent's monster effect is activated that would destroy a monster on the field, while a monster that mentions Shining Sarcophagus is on the field, destroy as many attack position monsters your opponent controls as possible. Then, if you control Dark Magician, which you will when you activate this card, you inflict 500 points of damage to your opponent for each monster destroyed. Also, for the rest of the turn after this card resolves, the first time each monster you control that mentions Shining Sarcophagus would be destroyed by battle by card effect, it is not destroyed. This card is amazing in the deck as a 1-of, and it's just a really good card overall in the deck. We then play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is really good in the build as a 3-up to basically just stop your opponent's monster effects and also lock down entire columns of spells and traps. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start with a single copy of Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos. This card is really cool as a 1-of in the deck, and you guys know it's a Yugi deck, so I had to be able to play a copy of Blackluster Soldier somewhere in the deck. But this card is really cool and very easy to summon this deck, because if this card is Link Summon, using a level 7 or higher monster as material, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects, and it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects either. And also, when it destroys an opponent's monster at battle, you can activate one of these effects to either make this card gain 1500 attack points, this card make a second attack during the following battle phase, or you non-targeting banish a card off the field. We play a single copy of Underworld Goddess. Underworld Goddess is amazing, just to help you basically out towers like boss monsters. One copy of Access Code. Access Code's really good in the deck as a 1-up to basically just use this card to pop multiple cards on the field, plus it comes out absolutely massive. We play a single copy of Nightmare Unicorn to spin stuff. One copy of Selene. Selene is great in the deck to help you climb into your copy of Access Code Talker extremely easily, because we have so many different spellcasters in the deck and so many different spell cards. We play a single copy of Nightmare Phoenix to pop spells. We then play a single copy of the Dark Charmer and a single copy of the Light Charmer. These cards are really good in the deck overall to again help you climb into your copy of Selene, just in case you can bring back a monster from your opponent's graveyard. We play a single copy of SP Little Knight. SP Little Knight is amazing in the build as a 1-of, just to help you basically spot remove cards off the field. Plus it's a double interruption, so this card is definitely a 1-of in the deck. We play a single copy of Nightmare Cerberus to pop monsters. A single copy of IP Masquerena. IP is really good in the deck as a 1-up to basically just go in for your copy of SP or Unicorn during the opponent's turn. We then play a single copy of Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight. Since we cannot play Red Eyes Dark Dragoon in Master Duel, we do have a really cool option that you can still make, which is really cool to be able to summon out Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight. This card has a really cool ability. This card's name becomes Dark Magician while on the field or in the graveyard, and your opponent cannot target spells or traps you control with card effects, and they cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects either, giving you a little bit of protection for your copy of Shining Sarcophagus, which is really cool. This card is amazing in the deck as a 1-up and is a really good alternative to Dragoon, since we are doing a Master Duel deck profile. We then play a single copy of Typhon. Typhon's great in the deck as a 1-up because you can basically make it in any deck, and this card is just really good overall. We then play a single copy of Zeus. Zeus is really good as well, just in case you need to make it on top of your copy of Typhon on the follow-up to board wipe the field. And then finally play a single copy of Chaos Angel. Chaos Angel is very easy to make in this deck, because we have multiple level 3s and level 7s, and we have multiple level 4s and level 6s. So it's very easy to be able to make this card, and it's just a really cool card overall because you don't even have to use a tuner to be able to make this. You basically just use any light or dark monster, and plus it spot removes a card off the field when you summon it to your side of the field. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played a Shining Sarcophagus deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, you should definitely give this deck a try because it was just released in the new selection pack, and it's really fun to be able to play. Plus it's super nostalgic. So that's gonna do for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.